Hey everybody, glad you're here. Welcome to Monday. The weekend's done, the fun has begun, and we have some pictures to get to. What's coming up this week? On Wednesday, we have the Eclipse Cross video that's going to be released. The Eclipse Cross is a new and updated version. Then a following week, that's when the Outlander video drops. There's an embargo on it until the 6th, so that'll be a week on Wednesday, the Outlander. This weekend, we're going to have the F-150 Hybrid. There's a whole bunch more coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. All right, we got some pictures to get to. Let's do that first. Our first one, this is from John in Alliston, Ontario with his TRD Pro. He sent the picture last week after I revealed that Canadian Black Book Best Retained Value Award winner, the highest retained value of all time, was the Toyota Tacoma. So he's pretty happy about that. Next up we have, well, this is from Sean, who lives in Edmonton, and he got the Q5, and he was emailing me. I missed a live chat with him a couple weeks ago. He was asking about ceramic coating, and he went for it. And I think if you're getting a brand new car, that is probably the best time to absolutely get the ceramic coating. Then what else do we have here? Oh, this is one from Alim, I think is how you say it. He's got a 328 diesel, X-Drive, lives in the Washington State area, as before COVID, would come up here to British Columbia. He says he averages 42 miles per gallon with his 3 Series diesel. That's sweet. Okay, we have Alex from Israel with one video question. So let's do that.
Hey Zach, welcome to one of the coolest roads on the country. And with this road, I want to ask you a question. Did you ever driven like some Porsche brands like Maserati or Ferrari on the channel? I don't remember that, only a Porsche. And I want to just ask your thoughts on these cars. What do you think? The interiors, that kind of stuff. And thank you.
Okay, that was cool. I'm glad Alex made the effort to do that video. It's kind of fun, point of view, looking out the front window in Israel. So thank you for that. And the question is, cool road. Definitely, I like the road. Why I don't do like Ferraris and high-end cars like that? It's really not my lane, right? Like what I've been doing ever since I kind of started with automotive reviews are sort of the mainline cars that most people buy, and kind of as high as we go is Porsche, because Porsche is a volume brand now. They sell certainly lots of SUVs, so that's about as high as we go. Every once in a while we'll go a little bit higher than that, but that's really you kind of like need to stay in what you do. Like if this was a channel where we did supercars all the time, well, that would make total sense. But to just drop one in, it's kind of fun for me. It disappoints my son, who's always asking me, when are you getting a McLaren? When are you getting a Lamborghini? And I could get those, but it's not really the best thing for our channel. So that's the reason behind it. All right, Car Cost Canada just popped up there. Don't forget to sign up. Oh, you know what? I was thinking about this because I heard the ads on the radio, and we have the Outlander coming next week. So the Outlander is going to be dropping next week. I heard an ad on the radio for the current Outlander, the 2020 model, or 2021, or is it 2020 or 2021? Have over $6,000 in incentives on that. So you have to ask yourself, are you somebody that's motivated by a really good deal, getting a discount on an Outlander, or waiting for the new, later, greater one? I would wait for the new one, but if you're really motivated by a good deal, it's something to look up. So you would go to Car Cost Canada now, and you would type in Outlander and see what kind of deals. Now, those are the posted ones that you hear on the radio or see online, Facebook. I've seen a lot of advertisements for that, but you might find some hidden rebates and discounts if you went to Car Cost Canada. All right, let's get into the questions. Here we go as people load in. Velocity. Anecdotally speaking, in your experience traveling Canada as an automotive journalist, what province has the worst drivers? I would say Vancouver drivers are not good drivers. I'm going to turn my phone down. Sorry about that. Yeah, Vancouver drivers are not good drivers. I think that Vancouver drivers are very inattentive and they're just not aware of what's going on around them. Like I was driving, this is absolutely true. I'm not making this up. We were driving up our street here and there's a guy in front of me in a BMW and he's doing a half a kilometer and he's driving so slow and I'm right behind him. And I said to Andrea, who was sitting next to me, I said, he is totally oblivious. He has no idea someone's behind him because he's off somewhere else. So he slowly pulls over and I pull up next to him and I honk and he rolls down his window and I said, you should take your car back to get it fixed. And his wife sitting next to him goes, oh, what's the matter? I said, yeah, you should take it in because the signal doesn't work. She thought I was serious, and Andrew and I had a good laugh. Excuse me, but there you go. I think Vancouver are pretty crappy drivers. I think aggressive drivers, Toronto has very aggressive drivers. John thinks that it's New Brunswick. Everybody's going to think they have bad drivers. I love the Cayman video. Hope all is well out west. Yes, so the Cayman dropped last week. People seem to like the Survivor Series, getting to drive those unique cars once in a while. Mark is asking, any plans to review the Kia Soul EV and what do you think of VW's ID4? Cheers from Sault Marie. From the Sioux Greyhounds. Okay, I have not driven the Soul EV. I have driven the Nero EV. And yeah, I think that the Hyundai and Kia EVs are fantastic. They get excellent range. The only problem I have with the batch of hatchback EVs now is that Chevrolet has announced the upcoming Bolt, which is soon to arrive, is going to be $8,000 cheaper in Canada. Now that is a major signal to everybody else that they need to sharpen their pencil. So if it was me and I was thinking about getting an electric hatchback like a Soul or a Nero or an Ioniq or a Kona or anything like that, I would wait until that Bolt hits the market because either they're going to also drop their prices to match it or maybe just get the Bolt. It has over 400 kilometers of range. It's a very nicely packaged car. It's a good size. It's going to be about the same size as the Soul, and it has a very good reliability record. Now on to the ID4. So you're asking about the ID4. I think the ID4 is going to be a bit of a game changer because Volkswagen isn't just, well, we don't have the price yet for Canada, but we're going to get the price in the next few months. From what I'm hearing is they're not just going to target other EVs and plug-ins. They're actually going to target mainline cars like the RAV4 and the CR-V with their pricings. We're going to have to wait and see. Marky Mark saying, I live in Moncton, so I know. Well, I've only been to New Brunswick once, and I was pulled over by the RCMP. It was the Pontiac G8 launch, and we stayed at the beautiful Algonquin Hotel. And I got pulled over by the RCMP, and I gave him my BC driver's license, and he's like, what are you doing here? And he let me off, which was very nice. Mike Shaw's here saying, can you better explain what naturally aspirated means? I can look online, but always enjoy your feedback. So, it's the way the car breathes, okay? So a naturally aspirated or a normally aspirated or naturally aspirated, you can call it either one, is it's just taking air in at the atmospheric pressure at the manifold. So it has an air filter and it draws the air in. Used to be through a carburetor, now it goes through a module and then into the engine without any kind of compression, okay? So that's naturally aspirated. You're not increasing the pressure going into the manifold. When you turbocharge or supercharge, then you're adding forced induction. So you're taking the air that's going into the engine and you're adding more pressure. So you're forcing more oxygen into the cylinder. So that's turbocharging and supercharging. Naturally aspirated means it doesn't have any of that. Not turbocharged, not supercharged. It's just drawing the air in through the air filter into the engine at the pressure that it is outside, okay? That's basically what naturally aspirated means. It means you're breathing in, breathing out. So imagine if I had a mask on and it was turbocharged and it's forcing the air into my lungs. That's what turbocharging is. Hopefully I didn't confuse you. Sean says, it's the East Coast. They're so laid back while driving. Newfoundland was terrifying to me. I tell you what, everybody thinks that where they live, they have the worst drivers. Greatest bowl of soup. I like that handle. Where would you say is the best place to buy rims in Vancouver? I don't know if you're looking for specialized rims or just used OE rims. I'm not really sure what you mean. If you're just looking for used original equipment, just go on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Kijiji isn't strong here. Interesting, for people who live back east, Kijiji's a big deal. It's the exact opposite on the West Coast. Kijiji's nothing, and it's Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. So I'm not sure if you're thinking about specialty wheels or just, if you had a Honda Civic, just looking for a set of Honda Civic wheels. That's where I'd look. Hey, Zach, is there any defunct brand you'd like to see make a comeback? Yeah, Pontiac. Well, I was actually ticked that they kept Buick and let Pontiac go. Made no sense. And an interesting statistic is Pontiac was bigger in Canada than it was as a proportion of our population than it was in the United States. And I still don't understand why they got rid of the Pontiac division and kept Buick in North America. And I understand for China, Buick is a big deal. Like when I mean Buick is a big deal, I mean it is a big deal in China. So I understand why they kept Buick, but they could have had cars. I mean, the Chinese market's so big, they could have made cars just for that market, and then Pontiac would have been good. That's just one I can think of off the top of my head. Barrick, what do you think is the best year spec 911 for your money in your opinion? Well, it depends if you're looking at a modern water-cooled Porsche or an older air-cooled Porsche. I think right now the best money, the best bang for your buck, if it's not, I wouldn't say is a 911, I would say this era of Boxster or Cayman is the best bang for your buck. But I would say the best overall value is a 997 911 Turbo, because with the early 997s that came out in 0506, the mainline engines you didn't want. You didn't want the regular Carrera 4, or the Carrera S. You want the turbo because it has what's called a Metzger engine, different design engine, much less prone to failure, very reliable, very robust engine, and it's kind of like the end of that era of making that turbocharged engine. So a 997 Generation 1 or 997 Generation 2 Turbo is going to be the best bang for your buck. The most power, all-wheel drive, leather interior, better brakes, and that's where I would shop if you could afford it. Any idea on what reasonable discount from MSRP you can expect on popular luxury SUVs? Car cost suggests 5 to 8, but any tips? I would go by what Car Cost Canada is suggesting. It's interesting because I was picking up, I'm not going to say what brand it was, I was picking up a car at a dealer, and I noticed on the general manager's desk, he had a Car Cost Canada card sitting there. And I said, oh, you deal with Car Cost Canada? He says, yeah, all the time. I said, well, what is your reaction when somebody, goes on, signs into Car Cost Canada using the promo code Motormouth and becomes an expert member, and then they find out what you paid for the vehicle? And he said, I have no problem with that, because then we can sit down and have a real discussion about, I got to make a living, we got to keep the lights on, I got to pay the sales guy. What do you think is a fair amount of profit for a business to make, and then you get a good deal? So he says he doesn't mind it because he knows if someone's coming in with a Car Cost Canada printout, they're wanting to buy the car. So he kind of looks at it like, I've got one on the line, I've got a sale if we can come to an agreement. Now, if you don't want to do that part of it, Car Cost Canada will reach out to the dealer on your behalf and negotiate for you. So they have to make a profit. They have to keep the lights on. They're going to pay their sales people and all that kind of stuff. So there is going to be money they make over and above the invoice. But that's what I would do. So if you're expecting to get, cost on a X5, a Q7, or a GLE, or a Cayenne, first of all, one thing I should warn you, Porsche doesn't take part in Car Cost Canada, so you're not going to get any preferential deals on that. But what you could do is look for the GLE and the X5 and see what kind of deals you can get. And then you could go and talk to the Porsche dealer and say, can we work something out that's similar to this? Something to think about. Bradley's Car Reviews. Do you think the Murano will be discontinued? It's hard to say. I would probably, if I was going to bet, I would say yes, but there were so few 5-passenger mid-size SUVs left that there might be an opportunity to keep it going. It's a cheap and cheerful car. Like, it doesn't cost a lot to get a Murano. There's always a deal on them, and it's not a horrible car. It has had some issues with the CVT, of course, but then if you're getting a great deal on one, and then you had to one day maybe repair it, is it that terrible an idea? I don't know, but that's one thing to think about. I would probably bet it's not going to be around. Super Chat. Love your show. Golf R8 versus 240. Are they reliable and good to keep long term? Don't want to throw money in leasing. Well, I don't know what it's going to be like with the lease programs and the residual values on the R8 when it comes. Sorry, the Golf R, the 8th generation, when it comes. I do know that the BMW 2 Series does have very high residual value. So that one is kind of a known entity. It's a great fun car. It's a sought after car, and it's a sought after car in the used market. But so is the Golf R. I mean, the Golf R is, but then again, you know, with the 240, you're going to have more power. All-wheel drive. If you want just rear-wheel drive and a manual transmission, you can get it. So you might want to wait and see what the value and the price of the Golf R is going to be in Canada, because we still haven't had that told to us. It's going to be coming fall. So you might want to hold tight on that. You do know right now what the residual value of a 240 is. So we'll have to wait and see. But a good question. 240 is a great car. Really is a good car. I gotta find out where I was. Why do you think manufacturers offer paddle shifters on vehicles? Does the average person ever use them? People who buy automatics don't want to change gears. It's a slap in the face to manual lovers. You're taking it very personally. I would suspect that most of them just sit there as an ornament on the steering column, and I agree with you that it's kind of silly. But for somebody buying a sort of more a performance-oriented car and they don't have it, they feel like it's something they could have added in, and it wouldn't really cost them that much to do it. You know, if I had back to the, say, the 2 Series, and it didn't come with the paddle shifters, I would be kind of ticked, because it's on those instances when you are on a nice twisty road or a mountain pass or something where you can actually have some fun with the gears. But you're right. I would say it's the time that people use it is probably like 1 to 2% of the time. Now, if it's shiftable in the center, like not the flappy paddles, but you can row it back and forth in the center, that's okay for me. Because once you get used to it, I actually think this is better. Which PHEV should I get? The Prius Prime, the Ioniq, or the Niro? Well, the Ioniq and the Niro are the same, right? It's the same. One is a Hyundai, one is a Kia. So that's fine. The Prius Prime is the least expensive plug-in sort of electrified vehicle that you can get. I think you get more range with the Hyundai and Kia. Really comes to, so this is what I always say about electric cars. They turn into a bit of a spreadsheet analysis about which one's charge faster. You know, how long is the range, all that kind of stuff. The nice thing about the Prime is you could get away without having a 240 volt outlet in your house. If you just plugged it into 120 power overnight, you'd probably be charged most of the time. But don't kid yourself. It really is a Prius with some extra range. It's not going to be something you're going to drive on electric all the time. I can't remember what the range of the Niro and the what's the other one, the Ioniq are, but they're not nearly as high as some of the new PHEVs like the Prime, the RAV4 Prime. So I'd look at the Prius Prime. Love your show. Give your opinion on the 18 Honda Civic SE with 160 kilometers. Good price, but worried about high kilometers. Your thoughts? Well, that's a lot of kilometers for a car that's 3 years old. 160,000 kilometers. That's a lot of kilometers. You better be getting a hell of a good deal on it. There's nothing to say that The SE is the 2-liter. That's the regular 2-liter. You'd want to, make sure that the timing belt has been done and then get the continuously variable transmission looked at. But what I would suggest is that if you can, look for an older, because the car came out in, when did the car come out? 16. So maybe go back and get one that's 2 years older but a lot less kilometers. I don't know. That seems like a lot of kilometers. Hey, Zach, looking to get the new Sienna. Just worried about the CVT transmission, a big heavy vehicle. Will fare in the long run. Thank you. Well, the CVT and has been used in the Highlander. Okay, so the Highlander hybrid has been around. I think it's its third or fourth generation, at least third generation, and they've been using a continuously variable transmission and a hybrid system in a larger vehicle for quite a few years now, with very good results. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. That wouldn't be my worry with that vehicle. My worry would be, are you going to be satisfied with the amount of power and the noise level? I found it quite noisy because you could hear the hybrid system working more often. But no, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Zato, longtime viewer from the News Desk days. Now that is a mystery. Who would that be? Hey, Zach, what do you say to first-time car buyer about the Outlander 2022? Thanks in advance. Okay, I can't, because the vehicle, so we're talking about the Outlander, Andrew's standing in front of it there. Color me impressed. I cannot give you any driving impressions. They are under embargo until the 6th. That's when we can release the video. We are allowed to talk about the features and the pricing and all that kind of stuff. The Outlander with a standard third row, attractive pricing starting at $32,000 in the Canadian marketplace, and a much, much, much more upscale interior, screens, dashboard, all of that kind of stuff. I'll give you a little sneak peek of what we're going to say in it. My whole thought on the Outlander, this is a game changer for Mitsubishi. This is going to change the game for them. They are now not just a cheap and cheerful brand that people buy because they've got a great 10-year warranty. It's now a brand that people are going to come into the showroom because they have the 10-year warranty. But once they look at the Outlander, they're going to go, holy crap, that's a lot of vehicle for the money. So that's about all I can say. Wait for the video. It will be coming out. You're not going to be in a rush to get it because the vehicle isn't on sale for a while yet. So I know that is the case. But there you go. So stay tuned. Gary's here from Carleton Place, Ontario. Is Honda the only car manufacturer with oil dilution issues that's not enough heat in cold climates? Actually, there was a CBC story last night on the National about a guy in Quebec with his CRV that wouldn't get up to operating temperature, and I fell asleep. I was in bed watching the news, and I fell asleep before this story came on. So I had to go back and watch it. It's the one that gets the most attention. Oil dilution is something that happens for most engines, by the way. So what that is the piston goes up and down inside the cylinder. Okay, this is a perfect example. So the piston's going up and down inside the cylinder, and the fuel burns here on the top of the piston, but some fuel can trickle by the piston and down. Unspent fuel can go by there and into the oil pan below. So as the piston goes up and down, some fuel sleeks by here and drips into the oil pan. So that's what's happening. And it's because the engine isn't warming up quick enough. Now, this effect can happen to any engine, but they're seeing it more in that 1.5 liter turbo because the engine is taking a long time to heat up. Now, speaking to the Honda representatives that I've had a chat with, they say that they've changed the thermostat. They've made, I'm out of focus now. There we go. The thermostat, they've made software programming changes to it. So here's my thing about all of these, is if this is really a worry to you and you don't want to deal with that, there's lots of other vehicles to buy. I got a 2021 Nissan Kicks SR and I love it. What is the problem with the CVT engine? What can I do to minimize these potential problems? So the CVT is the transmission. C stands for continuous, V stands for variable, and T stands for transmission. One of my pet peeves is I see it written by people in my profession. They call it a CVT transmission. The T is transmission. It's like the NDP party. No, the P in NDP is party. It's like ATM machine. The M in ATM machine is machine. So a CVT is the transmission. It's got nothing to do with your engine. So what I would suggest is you drive the car and enjoy the car. And I think the Kicks is a fun little vehicle. I actually like it a lot. I think it's a great product and good value. And I would say don't worry about it. Just enjoy it. Is there anything you can do to mitigate any problems with the CVT? Not really. So what you're referring to is, it's not the engine, it's the transmission. There have been some issues with Nissan transmissions. I keep on asking them about this, and they keep on saying we're making modifications regularly to their existing transmissions. So all you can do, you bought a nice little vehicle, enjoy it. That's my advice to you. And a CVT transmission is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. If money were no object, would you buy a new 911 or a 9972? If I could get what I want, it would be a 991 GT3 Touring. That is until they come out with the new GT3 Touring, and that's what I would buy. But it would be if they come out with a Touring again. But yeah, it would be a 991 GT3 Touring. That is my car. That's my car. Manual transmission, not sport seats, the regular seats, because I don't want to be sitting strapped in all the time. Greetings from Princeton, just up the highway here. 2 questions. Ever drive a Lada that was sold in our country? Do you think Cayenne is worth the $20,000 over a similar Q5 or X3? Well, yes, I have driven a Lada. This is funny. This is when I first started reviewing cars in the early 90s. I was at the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada's Car of the Year evaluation in Shannonville, Ontario, near Belleville, Kingston area. And that's the racetrack. And so all of the new cars from all of the manufacturers were all lined up. And your job was to go and drive them all and then pick the car you wanted for Car of the Year. And the woman that was in charge of PR for Lada was like, come and drive our car, come in. And I was just like, oh. And I remember driving it on the road, and it was like, oh, this is just sad. It's so crappy on the inside. But then they had an off-road course with the Niva, and they had a Range Rover, a Land Rover, and the Niva going on this off-road course, and that thing was pretty good off-road. I mean, that's the one thing about them, is they're very fun little vehicles to drive off-road. Simple, basic, cheap, and crappy on the inside, but people do off-road with them. Back to your other question. Is the Cayenne worth the $20,000 over the Q5 or the X3? Yes. The short answer is yes. First of all, it's one category up from that. So you're talking about compact, and the Cayenne is midsize, okay? So it's a bigger vehicle, much more presence on the road. Absolutely, it's worth the 20 grand more. Do you think the $7,000 difference between the CX-40 and the CX-60 is worth it? I might be missing something, but they just seem so similar. Well, with the CX-60, you're getting the T6 engine, and with the CX-40, you're getting the T5 engine. So you're going from 250 horsepower to 315, roughly 318, something like that. So one is turbocharged, that's the CX-40, and then the the XC40 is turbocharged. The XC60 is turbo and supercharged with the option to get the plug-in variant if you want. Now, I was speaking to the general manager of the local Volvo store, and he says often when you actually look at them for leasing and paying them over a month, the price differential between the two isn't that much. I think that, and I've been on record many times saying, I think that the XC40, considering how well it's packaged on the inside, it's just a marvel interior, little nooks and crannies. It's really well done. I'm kind of agreeing with you. I think that with that 250 horsepower turbo engine, with the great packaging on the inside, it's nice looks and dimensions. It's actually a lot of vehicle for the money. crunch the numbers and see if they can, maybe sharpen their pencil on the XC60. But I'm kind of with you. XC40 might be the way to go. Hey, Zach, with the new Outlander, even though the CVT has man 10-year warranty on the powertrain, I don't know, sounds like sweet deal, don't you think? I'm got to reread that. Hey, Zach, the new Outlander, even though it has... I think what you're basically saying is the Outlander with a 10-year warranty sounds like a good deal. Yes, I think you're right. Harley Chow. Does 18 RAV4 hybrid system work the same as the new 2020? I heard the 18 only works in hybrid during low speeds. Thanks. What year did they... yeah, that's the old one. Okay, so the hybrid system for the newer version does have the ability to work at higher speeds. So the older one is still very good. Like if you're thinking about buying a used one, I really like that era of RAV4 actually. The new one is great. Like don't kid yourself. I think the new RAV4 hybrid is the one to get if you're going to buy a new RAV4. I think the hybrid is fantastic. But the old one, I kind of liked it. I thought it was pretty good value. So if you can get a good deal on one, why not? But yeah, it's a different calibration. Basically, they calibrated the system differently. So what you're referring to is the ability of the newer one to drive on EV only for short periods of time at higher speeds. That is true. But the old one was very good too. Yeah, I like them both. Excellent Porsche Cayman review last week. There were not many Caymans for sale. Well, that was the whole 9.8 prices going up, is because COVID is absolutely crushing the car market. And I don't mean like people aren't buying cars. You can't get a car for love or money. New car inventory is tough to get. Used car inventory is scarce, especially desirable models and trims. And in the upper end sports car market, like a Porsche Cayman, Boxster 911, all of those sorts of things, the prices have gone up. And it's not just happening here, it's happening around the world, that because people with money during COVID still have money. They're not going on vacations. They're not going on doing all that kind of stuff. So they're buying toys. And there are slim pickings out there. So that's affecting the prices. When it comes to EV, why is most of the focus on range with little mention of charging times? The Bolt, for example, takes over an hour to get to 80%, which makes it useless for road trips. Yes, I agree with you that one of the things is that that's the ability of the car to take in a charge. The Audi, Porsche, Volkswagen Group ones, I think, are the fastest at this point. With the Koreans coming on board, they're saying that they're going to have even faster charging times. But I kind of agree with you. I would suspect that the Bolt is really not meant for that. It's probably just designed more as a city car, which is what I would consider it for. But yeah, point taken. Peter's here, Syracuse, New York in the house. I hear it's cold there tonight with some flurries. Zoiks. I'm here on the West Coast. I'm gonna have to cut my grass for the second time. Just saying. What's better, a 2021 Honda CRV or a 2021 Acura RDX? Thank you, Tony. Well, the RDX. The CRV has a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. The RDX is a 2 liter. It has a 10-speed automatic. The CRV has a continuously variable transmission. The interior is like night and day. I mean, the RDX is so much better. It's got a more advanced all-wheel drive system. It's more driver-focused. So yeah, if you can afford the RDX, I'd go for that. People chiming in on worst places to drive. Richmond is the worst. That's an old West Coast joke there. Hey Zach, glad to see you again. What do you think of the Mazda RX-8 and the Winkles in general? Thanks. I got actually one of my co-hosts on Motoring TV, Russ Bond. He's a Mazda fanboy because he goes racing and he likes them for racing because of the flat torque curve. I was never a fan of the rotary engine, to be honest with you. I know they have their fans. There's no doubt about it. And the RX-8 was a cool kind of car. I didn't love the extra door. I thought the proportions were a little off. I thought the RX-7 was a better looking car. The GX, what was it? The GLX SE or the GL? I try to remember but those RX-7s. Oh, they were gorgeous. GXL SE, was that what it's called? Anyway, beautiful car. Someone will type in below. I know, because I have a memory of a Civ with names especially. Yeah, I think that they're cool cars, but you know, you have to drive a rotary engine to see if you like it. Some people do. It didn't really float my boat. Should I avoid cars with a CVT if I plan to keep the car 15 years? For SUV, it seems like CX-3, CX-30 are the only options in my price range. Which one do you suggest? Thanks. Hey, listen, I say this all the time. We did a review coming up on the, actually on the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. Somebody asked about a CVT, and they were saying they're worried about it. And I say, listen, if this is a question in the back of your brain, and you think you're worried about having a CVT for 15 years, buy a car that doesn't have a CVT. Get a RAV4. Get a Mazda CX-30. Get you know, what's another car? The new Volkswagen Taos is going to have an 8-speed. So there are vehicles out there that have conventional automatic transmissions. You know, the Hyundais and Kias have, a lot of them have regular automatics. So if you don't want a CVT for 15 years, buy something without. Do you think it would be worth buying a Volkswagen eGolf, live in the suburbs, 18-kilometer commute to work every day? Now, Keith, my only issue with the eGolf, which is a fine car, is the resale value on it. I mean, I just see the prices on these things getting whacked. Because, as you know, every year there's something new and greater and better with better range. I think for somebody doing 18 kilometers each way to work, an electric car would be just fantastic. So, yeah, look at an eGolf and see what you think. My worry is for resale value. The Queen's Half Corgi. Does the new Outlander feel like the new Rogue? You're going to have to wait for the review. We're not allowed to give driving impressions till next week. But what do you think is better overall package, Q5 or BMW X3? I believe, it's funny because the X3 video just came out on Saturday, and in a couple of weeks we're going to get the Q5. So, but my gut tells me that the Q5 is a better overall package. It's a less expensive starting price. I call the Q5 just a good all-rounder. It does everything well. It doesn't really excel at anything, but it does. If you're just looking for a good all-rounder, the Q5 is pretty hard to beat. I would suggest that the X3 is a better handling car. If that's your thing, then maybe try that. Would you take a car that has a bad transmission but a good engine, or a great transmission and a weak engine? That's a good question. Depends on the car. You'd have to give me an example, because I might just say pass on both. But yeah, you know, it's like not currently, but the Dodge Grand Caravan, the last generation. Now they stopped making it just this past year. Was really quite reliable. I mean, the Pentastar 3.6 liter V6, the transmission had been using that for many, many years. But years ago, the old Plymouth and Dodge minivans were plagued with transmission issues. It wasn't the engine, it was the transmission. And I used to get people saying, oh, I don't want to buy it because of the transmission. And I used to say to them, these things are so cheap, especially used. You buy one that's 1 or 2 years old, they've depreciated. You could pick them up for $16,000, $18,000, $20,000. And I said, factor in maybe a transmission overhaul into the price. It's still cheap. So take that for what it's worth. Now, that's one example of a car that was so inexpensive. You got so much vehicle for your money. Yes, the transmission could be a problem, but, you know, for the $2,000 or $3,000 to fix it, it still was cheaper than buying anything else. So it comes down to the car. So Evan Katz is saying, I think Evan's in New York. Volkswagen of America leaked a new name today called Volkswagen of America. All the best. So I texted my buddy Thomas Tetzlaff from Volkswagen Canada, and I wrote, Volkswagen, really? No reply. He hasn't replied. So, yeah, this is a story that's going around that they're taking out the K in Volkswagen and replacing it with a T. So it would be Volkswagen to signify the onslaught of electric vehicles. I don't know. That sounds like fishy to me. We'll have to wait and see. Eric from Montreal. Hey, if I sell my GTI privately but using the dealership to benefit from doing an accommodation sale, would the buyer need to pay both taxes on the sale, GST and provincial? How much will dealer charge me? Okay, so Eric, that's typically called an in and out. So often, if you like it, Eric's got a GTI. We'll just pick another Volkswagen. Say he wants to buy a Tiguan, but he needs to sell his GTI. So he would advertise for sale his GTI, say for $20,000, and he gets somebody that's willing to buy the car. And then you say, I'm going to do it as an in and out at the dealership. So he gets that $20,000 credit towards his new Tiguan. Say it's $36,000. So he's only paying tax on $16,000. So they run it through their books as a trade-in, and then they turn around and sell it to his buyer, that $20,000. So the dealers typically charge a fee for an in and out, or in his case he calls it an accommodation sale, usually around $500. Some dealers might be less, some might be lower. The tax, because it's going to be sold from a dealer, would need to be PST and GST. Okay, so that's something that you have to pay. Well, I guess if you do it privately, you would just have provincial sales tax. But yeah, you would have to pay both taxes because it's going through a dealership. Okay, so you might have to factor that into the cost that you're going to charge for the car. But then again, remember, you are putting the value of your GTI towards the new product, so you're saving tax on that amount. Am I just making it more confusing? So yes, it's called an in and out. A dealer will charge you, usually a flat fee. You get a buyer. You say to the buyer, I'm going to sell you the car through the dealership, and then you put the money towards your new vehicle. Thoughts on the easy for me to say. Thoughts on the refreshed Lincoln Nautilus and Ford Edge and the future of these products, all electric or for all new versions? I haven't been following much on that. So that's going to be made in the Oakville plant here in Canada, from what I understand. Sorry, I'm not up to speed on the Lincoln and Ford changes for those two models. Hey, here's a name we haven't seen in a while, Cocking the Axle. I heard you missed me. I've been watching all your videos. Will VW really go with the brand Volkswagen for their electric cars? Cheers. I don't know. That's the rumor. I think it's stupid. You're either the people's car. I mean, an electric car could be those people's car. I don't know. If you've been building cars for 70 years under the name Volkswagen, why would you stop? That seems dumb to me. And yes, Cocking the Axle, we did miss you. The one we'd be missing, the one handle we'd be missing with a question is DJ Pleasure Seeking Missile. Hasn't been here for a while. (2018) BMW 340X drive with a 6-speed manual or digital dash, reliable over 100,000 kilometers. 18 X drive 6-speed manual. That's a hell of a car. It's interesting you bring that up, because walking the dog, I always see these cars when I walk the dog. Exactly what you're talking about. The last generation of the previous BMW 3 Series with the inline 6-cylinder, a 340, there's a blue one near me, and it is gorgeous, and it has a manual transmission, and I'm like, oh, that is fantastic. Now, I say grab that car if you can, because you won't get another one. Like, they just don't make them anymore, and the number of manuals that are around with that engine is even rare. So that's a hell of a car. Is the digital dash reliable over 100,000 kilometers? Well, same thing I was talking about, the cost of having to fix the transmission in an old Grand Caravan. Like, what would it cost to have the digital dash changed? I don't know. I have no idea. But it's something you could ask the service manager. So I don't know. But, you know, would I pass up on a 340 X-Drive manual transmission for the last generation of that car ever, because there might be an issue with the digital dash one day? I would take that chance, because that's a great car. All right, we have a super chat. Where did it go? Our first car in Canada is, sorry, I'm going to move this screen here. Our first car in Canada, like going on random road trips, coupled with large dog and absolutely love wagons. Thinking of Subaru Outback, which trim and engine would you suggest? Love your show. Cheers. Well, I think that's an excellent choice. I think you are absolutely on the money. I would get an Outback with the turbocharged engine. The outdoor model might be just what you're looking for because it has the actually really quite nice faux leather on the inside that's easy to wipe down if your dog gets in the back seat or there's fur and stuff in the car. The turbo engine is the one to buy. It is good. Now, you might be able to find a Volkswagen Golf station wagon that's still new. There might still be some around. Now, you might find one that's very, very low mileage. So they made the Volkswagen Golf Sport Wagon up until the end of last year. Okay? So there might be still a few kicking around. So have a look for that. That's an option for you. But I love the idea of the Outback. I think that's a great choice. Great for dogs. Lots of room. And the turbo is the one you want. Okay? So that would be the outdoor version. Greatest bowl of soup was a follow-up. Should have added more to my last question. Yeah, looking for some cool sport rims on my SI. Want to switch it up from the OEM rims. Yeah, I don't know on the aftermarket rims where you would get them here in Vancouver. I would just go online, have a look around, see what other people have. There would be a Honda Civic tuner community you could tap into here in Vancouver. Okay. I gotta find where I was. Is there much of a difference in interior quality between the Sorrento and the Telluride? Well, they're quite different vehicles. I mean, the Telluride is much bigger, much more space, especially for that way back row, the third row. You get 2 extra seats, actually, because if you get the Sorrento with the turbo engine, the 2.5-liter turbo, the second row are just captain's chairs. You can't get a bench. So that's 2 in the front, 2 in the second row, and 2 in the third row. If you get the Telluride, you get 2 in the front, 3 in the back, and then 3 in the third row. That's 2 extra seats. So if you need to take people, Telluride is going to be the one you want. It's way bigger on the inside, but the interior quality would be the same. I would say the quality is the same, but they're very different. For me, it's Telluride all day. Telluride is got to be one of the best new product launches that have come out in the last few years. Like, they absolutely nailed it with that thing. Paulie B said, like to see more reviews on Alfa Romeo brand as the new models come out. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Our problem is Stellantis or FCA Canada, or whatever the hell you call it. They're not quick with getting us the cars. So I agree with you. We had the Stelvio Quattrofolio last summer, and we want to get a Giulia, and I keep asking, there's still nothing coming. So I'm with you. We'd like to get them too. Because every time I drive an Alfa, I mean, I understand, yeah, people have question marks around the reliability, but holy crap, they drive great. They're just so much fun. I have a 2002 RSX and might hope to keep it a few more years. I have all fluids changed, need to replace front mounts, might need to update water pump. Is it worthwhile to keep it? I would suggest, yeah, why not? I mean, listen, maintaining a car, especially a Honda or an Acura like that, yeah, you're going to have to put some money into it, but it's not like crazy amounts of maintenance, and it's not crazy expensive because, yes, you've got some things you might have to work on, but it's a lot cheaper than buying a new car. Plus, you've got an RSX that is a very reliable car. So, yeah, if you want to keep it for a few years, why not? TJ Hammersland, subscriber sip. Well, Jack is out playing football, so I'll take a sip out of my General Tire tea mug there. Hey, it's Kent Shadwick. He is into the EV community. Years ago, Kent was a guest on my radio show. Used to do a show across the country on the Chorus Radio Network, and we were talking about hypermilers and hybrid owners and all that. And he's been tied into that whole community for a long time. Still listening. What does he say? Still listening, viewing after all these years, loving the Bolt ever since 2017. I am a big fan of the Bolt. I just think that the Bolt is a great package. This new one that they came out with, now they didn't change the range, and somebody made a point about this ability to take a quick charge is not fantastic, but as a commuter car, you're going to charge it overnight and be ready to go in the morning. There's a lot of value, and they dropped the price by $8,000 on the new one. It's killer. I mean, that is mainstream, man. If you get that discount from taxpayers to buy your own personal transportation, don't get me started on that. It's one hell of a deal. Drive Auto, with current limited supply issues, how do you see prices being affected over the next 12 to 24 months? So the supply issues are the chips. You've heard about the processing chips for all the different computers and components that run. Now, this isn't just automotive related. This is worldwide. This backlog of chips is an issue. Then we're hearing all kinds of shortages for things like seat foam and other things. So, with everybody ramping back production at the beginning of COVID and then the car sales picking up, everyone was flat-footed. So some brands are really supply constrained. What you're asking about is the pricing. I don't see pricing of cars going up. I just don't see as many discounts. Like if dealers have only limited supply and they could sell all of them, you're not going to see discounts. And the other thing is used car prices have remained very, very high, and I don't see that changing for the foreseeable future. Hey, Zach, after driving the Bentley, and what's your opinion about the brand? Warm greetings from Lima, Peru. Well, it's interesting, Ricardo, because the video that's going to drop this week is kind of a direct competitor to the Bentley, and that is the Mercedes-Benz S-Class AMG convertible 63. And driving the S-Class convertible and then driving the Bentley convertible, it's a no-brainer. It's S-Class. I mean, that car is spectacular. So I appreciate the Bentley brand. They don't do anything for me personally. They're just not a brand that I go, ooh. Rolls-Royce, that's different. But Bentley, the problem is I see a lot of Volkswagen Group stuff in the car, and for me that kind of cheapens it a little bit. I don't know how they get away with the prices they charge. Audi S8 V10 Survivor Series. Yeah, well, let's try and find one. That would be good. Core Cars, he has an RS7 there right now. I like that. How many reputable used Porsche dealers are there in the Vancouver area? This is from Rudy. I do a lot of the videos, and my friend Cornelius, who owns Core Motor Cars, I've bought and sold 5 cars through him. He is one of the top guys in town when it comes to, finding a specific car, selling a Porsche. He's a real Porsche specialty guy. So it's always the place I would start. And it's always the place I send friends who are considering buying or selling a Porsche to go and speak to him, because he's just a good guy and he knows the market as better than anybody. So that's always the best place to start. There were other used Porsche dealers, but I'll just leave it at that. BMW offers a rear-wheel drive 330e for $44,000 for $45,000, which is available for the federal government tax rebate, but there's no inventory in Canada. What do you think of the 330e? We're going to be getting it soon, I think. So I don't have much else to say other than that. I think that this new approach by BMW offering plug-ins on their mainline cars is smart. That's the way they really think that the market is going to go in the short term. Yes, there are people who think it's EV, full plug-in or nothing, but for most people, a plug-in is going to be a really nice transition for them. Thoughts on the GV70? You think it'll become Genesis bestseller? Yes, absolutely. Just look at the category. Compact premium utilities are the best sellers of premium brands, whether it's the the X3 or the Macan or the GLC or whatever it is. So that will be Genesis bestseller, followed by the GV80, followed by the sedans. Sedans are much lower just because people aren't buying sedans. The GV70 will be the one that everybody is going to want to get their hands on. Justin's asking, Wrangler engine, 3.6 or 2 liter. I've only ever driven the 3.6 and the diesel. FCA Canada or Stellantis or what the hell they're calling it these days, they've never made available the 2 liter. However, from what I've read online, quite a few people in the Jeep community like the 2 liter. So I think the great thing about the 3.6 is that it's a very reliable engine. It's very robust. It's been out for a long time, and it's a proven known entity. That's why I would kind of lean towards that one. Any news on the 2022 Civic, next gen Civic? It's coming, I believe, June. Yeah. There's a quick little video I did on it on the channel if you want to go look at it. But yeah, it's coming soon. With the current chip shortage, drive car prices up, how is GM managing the situation in your opinion? From what I understand, from what I'm hearing, is that they're streamlining production. So instead of having a menu of 100 items on the menu, car dealers are able to order a much smaller available set of vehicles. So they're streamlining. So if you're wanting to go in and get a special truck with a unique this and that and the next thing, you might not get it because they're just saying, this is what we're making, this is what you get, take it or leave it, because of this chip issue. How are they handling it? I don't know. I think that these car companies are being thrown so many curves with all of these supply chain issues. They're just trying to do the best they can. So I think they're putting their efforts into building the bulk, like the vehicles that sell the most. And the fringe stuff is going to have to wait because that's just the reality they have to deal with. Hello from Montreal. Are you having the opportunity to drive the GV70? And what do you think about the... I will get it. I have to wait and see. I'm a little bit pissed because Genesis had a GV70 walk around, come see it thing in Montreal and Toronto. Of course, nothing here in Vancouver. And where do they come? They come from Korea to Vancouver, to our port. And of course, they can't let us have one. No, they got to ship them to Toronto. So don't get me started on that. What do you think of the Cadillac brand as a whole? Well, Jason, you're probably not... Why is that out of focus? Is that driving you crazy? It's driving me crazy. Maybe you don't want to see me in focus. That's probably a good thing. If you're new to the channel, I'll just catch you up on speed. I am a big fan of Cadillac. I think Cadillac is doing a lot of things really well. I think their in-dash technology is some of the best and the simplest and the easiest to use, period. I like their design. I think they have unique looking cars. They don't look like everything else. They have performance models that tickle the fancy of enthusiasts. They have cars like the CT4 and the CT5, not the V versions, but the regular ones. They're great value. They've got that super high-end, crazy expensive Escalade for people who would maybe buy a Range Rover. It's a better car. So yeah, Cadillac's doing a lot right. Now, we have to get the XT5 updated. That needs to be updated. But overall, I think the brand offers a lot. I like Cadillac a lot. Almost 20% of Bronco buyers are ordering the manual gearbox. Well, initially, okay, you've got to wait 24 months after the vehicle's been available. So you're getting all those hardcore enthusiasts jumping in quickly, and then you go out 24 months, once the vehicle's readily available, you would see that number shrink down quite dramatically. That's my prediction, but I've been proven wrong before. Hey Zach, I was thinking of purchasing a 19 All-Track with low kilometers. Was doing my research and saw some have leaky panel roofs, some with multiple repairs. Should I be hesitant about buying? That is a known issue with that. Okay, so just take it for what it is. The my advice to you is if you had a sport wagon and it had the panel roof, don't open it. Just use it as a moonroof. That would be my advice. My dad has one, and he had to get the whole cartridge replaced under warranty because it creaked and rattled or whatever. And I wish you could buy it without, at the higher trims, without the panel. I wish the panel roof was a standalone. Doesn't matter now because you can't order one new anyway. So if it was me and I had one, I like the car so much I would buy it, but I wouldn't open the roof. I would just use it as a glass roof. All right, we've been doing this an hour. Let me see if I missed any super chats because I don't want to do that. No, I don't think we did. And if I didn't get your question, I apologize, but I do read them all. Don't forget to sign up to Car Cost Canada, become an expert member. Remember that you need to find out what the dealer paid for the car, and then you can do your negotiating based on that. So it's a very powerful thing to have. All right, enjoy. We're going to go and eat chicken tacos. Andrea's making tacos tonight. She makes a killer chicken taco. So that's on the table tonight. We'll see you guys later. Take it easy.